My name is Sam Woods, and today we're going to be talking about tectonic plates and tectonic plate boundaries. Tectonic plates are pieces of the Earth's crust that move around constantly or floating on top of magma or hot liquid rock. As you may or may not know, this magma sits just below the Earth's surface and is constantly heated up by the Earth's core. Now, think about this. These tectonic plates are like an ice cube, and think about the magma as water. So these tectonic plates sit on top of this water, and they just constantly get pushed around, and they're always moving, but at a very, very, very slow pace. Now, these tectonic plates fit together like a puzzle, and they're constantly moving around and trying to fit next to each other. Now, billions and billions of years ago, when the Earth was first made, there was this huge supercontinent called Pangaea, which all these plates fit together like one big puzzle. Now, as the years have gone by, magma has been pushed up, and these plates have been moving around and sliding, and we keep touching each other and trying to find a balance. Now, as these plates are sliding around, there's three different kind of boundaries that are formed. There's convergent, there's divergent, there's transform, or a strike-slip boundary. In order to demonstrate this, I have three different types of graham crackers and lemon frosting to demonstrate. Now, these graham crackers, as you can see here, these graham crackers are the plates, and this lemon frosting is what you would call the magma. Now, to start off, we're going to demonstrate the convergent boundaries. As you see these graham crackers being pushed together, this is what happens to convergent boundaries. As slowly these plates are pushed together until eventually one of them gives and is pushed up into the rock. Now, the biggest example of convergent boundary is what you'd be known as the Himalayas. The Himalayas is the biggest mountain in the world, and because of the Indian plate is constantly being pushed under the Asian plate, causing the biggest mountain in the world. Now, moving on to the divergent boundary. The divergent boundary is the exact opposite. Now, convergent boundary is pushing together. Divergent is pulling apart. Now, as you can see, as these plates are moving away from each other, you see more magma forming. And this creates a big space, and magma comes spurting up out of the ocean. A great example of this is the East Africa Rift Valley. Now, it's one of the biggest rift valleys in the world, and as it pulls apart, this magma keeps coming up and producing new land and more magma coming up. And as soon as it touches the water, it cools off, creating more boundary for whatever continent. Now, the last one, and quite possibly the most violent one, is the transform boundary. The transform boundary, or the strike-slip boundary, what happens is they don't pull apart and they don't push together. They constantly rub up against each other. Now, as these plates are moving up against each other, they create a lot of friction. Now, if you learn in your other classes, friction is a bunch of energy. Now, for millions of years, these plates are slipping and they're sliding together until one day they crack. And when this cracks, it releases a huge amount of energy, which we would call an earthquake. Now, the earthquakes are obviously very violent and they cause a lot of damage, but these happen once every hundreds, maybe thousands of years, and sometimes never happens at all. Now, one of the most famous strike-slip boundaries is known as the San Andreas Fault in California. And there was an earthquake, I don't know, maybe about 100 years ago where this happened, but it's not going to happen for a very long time. So that's an example of one strike-slip boundary. Well, now that I've showed you all three boundaries, now you can enjoy nice little graham cracker with some lemon, and there's your lesson.